Hey everyone, I'm going to be talking a little bit more about what you're learning in class with the story Fears and Phobias. So I'm going to be going over your text features, words and phrases, vocabulary words, repeated words, words with the prefix un, so un, and prefixes that also mean the words not. So I'm going to have to move myself here and expand. So just letting you know that does happen a lot. I don't know how to fix it. So anyway, before you begin your story, it's important to preview the text. So previewing the text. Now, with that, you need to ask yourself some questions. So what's the topic? Okay, well, what's the topic? What is this going to be about? That's something that you can jumpstart about thinking. Now, you can look at the title. Then you might want to think about, well, what's it going to be about? You should be previewing the headings and subheadings. So when, we look at the title, which I have here, it's Fears and Phobias. So that's your heading. Then what is fear? That is your subheading, your section titles. It's also very important for you to read the background and where it says setting a purpose on here. This is just giving you an insight about what it is that you're going to be reading. So you know this whole section is going to be about fears and phobias, but then it gets broken down into subheadings, which are giving you different areas that you're going to be learning more things. Because when you're reading fears and phobias, there's a lot that go behind that. You don't want that all just in one section. You want it broken down into certain areas, especially if you need to write a paper or you have to look up information. You can just go directly into that area because the subheading is giving you an idea of what it is that you're looking for. Now, when you're thinking about like what's this going to be about with fears and phobias and looking at what is fear, you're going to be thinking about what are things that people could be scared of or afraid of. Now, in the next slide, I'm going to talk a little bit more about, here we go. I'm going to talk a little bit more about your text features. Now, text features are often seen in informational text. What you're reading is an informational text. Majority of the time, a lot of things are going to be bolded, underlined, all of that stuff just to get your attention. But I really want to focus on headings and subheadings because these are very important text features. Now, you'll notice that the definitions, heading, and subheadings are color-coded. So when you look at my example over here, you'll notice that it's color-coded, but I also wrote heading next to it to help you. So headings are a title. Now, remember, on the previous page, our title is Fears and Phobias, found at the top of a page or beginning of a chapter or article that tells the reader what the section is going to be about. So you're going to be learning about fears and phobias, but then you need your subheadings. But before we go into that, let's look at headings. So headings here, growing plants. Now this is just an example. So this is what you're going to be learning about. Then it gives a little background snippet of what it is that's to come about it in your subheadings. So all plants need things to survive: air, water, sunlight, soil, and warmth. Here are your subheadings. They come after the heading. Heading after subheading, and indicate a new section. So the beginning of something new. It will break down the section even more for you to help identify the main idea of the text, because you gotta look at it this way. These are your supporting details to the main idea. Now your subheading is just giving you a little bit of a area breaking down information, because if you're writing a paper or if you're answering questions, if you look at a paper that just has growing plants, all plants need things to survive, plants need air, water, sunlight, soil, and warmth, and then goes right into all of that, that's going to be time consuming. You want it broken down into certain areas. So subheadings. So if I said, well, why do plants need soil to survive? Well, they need soil to survive because plants need soil to grow. I can go directly right down to where it says soil. Now, another thing is you can turn your heading and your subheadings into questions that you might want answered or you anticipate being answered as you read. So if we have growing plants, what are growing plants? You might not know what they are. What are they? Okay. Then you can look at air. Well, why is air important to plants? Why do plants need water? What is sunlight? Where can I find the best soil for plants? Why do they need to be in a warm environment? So do you see how I turned all of those into questions that could be answered? It's important, and it's something very important for you to practice as well. Now moving into the next thing, we're going to be talking about words and phrases. So words and phrases. You will read these throughout the text. So as you're reading the story, you're going to be seeing these, and it's important that you understand exactly what they mean. Now, public speaking. Public speaking is talking in front of people. As you see, there's a man standing in front of what's called a podium and a group of people, and he's doing public speaking. So he's explaining things to his audience. Now, you might, when you go to college, your professors are going to be standing at podiums more often than not. As you get older in grades, you'll start seeing the podium come out because it's good to have in front of you when you're speaking to large crowds. You can put your paper there, pencil, have whatever you need in front of you when you're talking to the audience. Now, if you've never been on a plane before, you might not understand what this word means. So takeoff. Now, takeoff is when a plane lifts off the ground and begins to go into the sky. So as we see the plane, there's the ground, like a road, like a runoff, and it's about to leave the ground and go up into the sky. This is takeoff. They're leaving to go to their destination. Now, if you've never been on a plane, you might not know what that meant or what it looks like. So I wanted to put that in there so you had an understanding. Now, the next thing here is emotional reaction. Is the way someone responds to a feeling. So here's Joe. That's what I named him. He has his hand on his forehead. Joe forgot he had to go into work early today. So his emotional reaction was, that's what he did. So he was responding to his feeling that he was feeling. He was like, oh man. So that's emotional reaction. Or if someone does something funny, your reaction is you just start laughing hysterically at it. Now, in this picture, we have Jake, who I made up, and it says get used to. So this is something you're going to be doing more often. Now, Jake, you can tell that it's morning. It's about 6 a.m. So Jake needs to get used to waking up early for his new job. So let's think about it. He might have had a job where he got up at the afternoon time. So getting up at 6 a.m. might be a real struggle for him right now. Think about when your parents tell you at the end of summer, well, you got to start going to bed early. You got to get used to getting up earlier in the morning because you're going back to school. Now, these are your vocabulary words that you read throughout the text as well, but these are highlighted in blue for you, I believe, in your text. So just going to go over them. So when you activate, to activate something means to cause it to start working. When we feel danger, our brain starts a reaction that causes many changes in our body. So maybe you're walking by yourself and you start hearing a noise on the side. You're like, oh man. So your body's reacting by your heart starting to go. You might start sweating. You're getting nervous, anxious because you don't know what it is. And then all of a sudden you see a cute little cat come out. So your body just has to calm down now because it was triggered, and we'll talk about that. So when we activate something, think of it as a button you press to turn something on. So for instance, I have my calculator. I need to activate you on. Or if you get a new cell phone, you got to activate it to get it to go. So those are just some more examples of what activate means. Now, trigger. So to trigger something means to cause it to begin. So I gave you a little idea in the last one, activate. So the article explains that a reaction to danger can be caused instantly, but sometimes that cause is not dangerous at all. So the article meaning fears and phobias. So I was thinking of, well, how can I explain this? So as we see the boy at the bottom, red nose, he's about to sneeze, he has a tissue because he's like, but we also see some flowers. It's nice and bright, sunny, birds are flying. So think of allergies. In the beginning of spring, allergies are triggered by flowers beginning to bloom and the season changing from winter to spring. Your body's not used to it. So when this happens, it's triggering your allergies to flare. Swollen eyes, they're puffy, red nose, sneezing a lot. Everyone's like, you're sick, when really it's just your allergies. Now here, turbulence. So in flying, turbulence is an interruption in the flow of wind that causes planes to rise and fall or sway in a rough way. So in the story, the author uses the word turbulence to describe a specific kind of sensation, so a certain kind that may occur, that may happen during flying. The phrase, "it's just turbulence," might be frightening to someone who doesn't fly often. So as we can see, someone's very scared sitting in that chair. If you've never flown, you might have never heard the captain come on the intercom say, "All right, everyone, it's time to make sure you're seated. Let's buckle our belts. We're about to go through some turbulence." So that means you're like, and then you're kind of just hoping for it to be over, but it's just bumpy. Now, the next one is immaturity. So this is the state of being not being fully developed or grown. So the author in the story uses the word immaturity to remind the reader not to think that a phobia might simply be something only a child would have. Immaturity can be for children. It's also an adult. Could be something an adult has not matured yet in. Everybody grows and learns and acts differently. So in this case, they're talking with phobias. So it's not just geared to children. So this woman is an adult and she has a phobia of spiders. I mean, she's just like, get them away. I don't want to see them. Please, bye. Like, they don't want to be bothered. So that's her phobia. Do you have a phobia or a fear? Now here, you will see, this starts on page 42, and you can see the subheading here, how fear works. So this is just going back into what we just discussed with your vocabulary words. So remember what activate, think of a button when it starts. You want it to begin. So in here, after you read, think about what physical responses are activated by the signal from the nervous system. So when you respond to questions, you should be turning your questions into a response. So taking what's being said here and turning it into a response. So the physical responses that are activated by the signal in the nervous system are, go through here and you have to find the information. So I'll give you a second to do that. Now, the physical responses that are activated by the signal in the nervous system are, what do you think? So your heart is going to be beating faster, your pressure increases, and your skin begins to sweat. So when you go in, you find the information where it's located by reading, and that's how you put your answer in there. Now remember, trigger, think of your allergies getting triggered by season change. You can think of it that way, or causing something to begin. So how is the fear reaction triggered and turned off by the brain only in seconds? So the fear reaction triggered and turned off by the brain in only seconds when, then you have to look up for the information here. So the fear reaction triggered and turned off by the brain in only seconds when the brain perceives no danger. It stops the reaction. So it might have been triggered by a loud noise, and then when it's gone, you're like, okay, calm down. Now, in this green box, it goes up here. How is the text related to physical actions, such as running or flight? Look at what the author used for language choice. Use these sentence starters to help. Why does the author use, tell me. I think the author did this because, and explain why. Okay, so these are what you're feeling, your interpretation, the way you're inferring what the author is saying. Now, here on the next slide, at the top, you'll see fears people have. That is your subheading. And then below, fears during childhood, subheadings. Remember turbulence. So it's an interruption of the flow of the wind. So why do you think an interruption in the flow of wind makes turbulence terrifying? Think about how turbulence might feel for a passenger. Now I set this up into a sentence starter and frame. So a plane flying into a steady wind flies because if the plane, as it does during, it may seem, find all that info inside that section. So, a plane flying into a steady wind flies smoothly. If the plane bounces as it does during turbulence, it may seem like the plane is no longer flying or that it is falling out of the sky. Okay, that was the response that you found in the paragraph. You may word it differently, that's fine. Now here, immaturity, remember, this doesn't just strictly mean children, also adults, especially when it comes to phobias. So what kinds of fear reactions might be the result of immaturity? So a fear reaction that might result in immaturity is, so I'm just going to go with, how about a child might be fearful of clowns when they're younger, but could change when they get older. And if it doesn't, they might have a phobia, which is fear of clowns. So give me an example what you think that is. That was my example. Now, this part is repeated words. So these words will be used a lot throughout the text that you see, and you'll see what I mean. Here, sorry, at the top, fear. The title, the heading is Fear and Phobias. That's your story. So I thought it was important to put these in here. Fear, an unpleasant emotion caused by the belief, so the idea that someone or something is dangerous, likely to cause pain or threat. I posted a picture of a little boy. It's nighttime. It's dark. You can tell that he's scared. He has his blankets pulled all the way up. So the little boy has a fear of being alone in the dark. Now, the next one is phobia, an extreme or irrational fear of or aversion to something. So he's standing at the top of what looks to me as being a tower. He's nervous. He's scared. So he has a phobia of being very high in the air. So a fear of heights. Now, usually people who have a fear of heights, it's because they have no control. You don't have control when you're high up. That's why people they have a fear of flying as well. You have no control up there. Now, the next one, I felt it was important. This is amygdala. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. I even put the pronunciation there for you. So this is the region of the brain primarily, so mostly associated with emotional processes. So how you process what is happening. Now, when you look at the slides on the Google Stream, you'll be able to open this up. This is just showing you where it is in your brain. Then how, when it's perceived, when it comes in, where it goes. Okay, so just to look at it. So it just keeps a track of experiences that trigger strong emotions within you about certain situations. Now, we're going to get into words with the prefix un. So these words will be used throughout the text as well. Now, remember, a prefix is a word that appears at the beginning of a base word to form a new word. So our prefix in the example here is un, which means not. So a sentence example is, she is unsure of where to go. Not, picture, she's unsure. She doesn't know where she's going. She does not know. Now, you will see that I put the prefix in blue at the beginning of all these words here, including unsure. So the first one, unfamiliar, so material or information that one does not know well or has never come across as unfamiliar. Now, think of this as when you're in school and you're learning new content materials. You are unfamiliar with it, but once a teacher goes over it with you, you do things to understand it, you have now become familiar. But before you learn it, you have no idea, you're unfamiliar with the material. The next thing is unnecessary. Something that is not needed is unnecessary. So Yasmina's fear that she would be late was unnecessary because she had planned more than enough time for traveling. She just had a very unnecessary fear that she just didn't have enough time. She had more than enough time. She planned this accordingly, but she was just uneasy about it. Now, unsafe is a dangerous situation is unsafe. So the combination, so texting and driving together as your combination is unsafe, which is because if you're driving, you're on your phone, your eyes are not on the road. You are paying attention to your phone, which might cause an accident, not only for you and the people in your car, but whomever else is around you. Also, you might not be the one on the phone. It might be another driver on the phone. You need to be aware of your surroundings. And then we already went over unsure. She is unsure of where to go. So you have a doubt of what to think or say or do. Now, here's a little more examples of word prefixes that also mean not. So un, in, miss, non. Un, not, she is unsure of where to go. The next one, in, not in. The information I read on the website was incorrect, so it was not correct. Miss, not incorrectly. The child continued to misbehave, so he lost recess. Non, not. Gestures are a nonverbal means of expression. I put the definition. So this is a movement of the body, especially a hand or your head, to express an idea or meaning. So people who do sign language, so ASL, they do speak, but they express themselves when they're doing sign language, so American Sign Language. Gestures, another way of thinking is if you see a friend, you don't really feel like being verbal, so you're going to be nonverbal. You might go, or that's a nonverbal hello to someone. Now here, I place this for you. So what do you think these words mean? Now I put the word, the first one, incurable, the prefix in, the meaning not in, use in a sentence. The character in the story was stricken by an incurable disease. So got it, and it had no cure. Now the next four words, impossible, mislead, nonsense, and unknown. I want you to identify the prefix, tell me the meaning, and use the word in a sentence. So that is all I have for you for this right now. If you need more of an explanation, please reach out. You can do it on the Google Stream, send me an email, say, hey, I need help with this. If there's something else that's going on in class that you need more help with, more background, please reach out so I can help you. Tell your teachers, tell someone, and we will help you. That is our job. We're here to help you. Make sure you learn and understand material that you are unfamiliar with. All right, so I hope you have a great day, and I will see you soon. Bye.